Good afternoon, everyone. All right, we're very happy to see all of you on site and online. We have almost, I think, 300 plus this afternoon. I would like to say that VISTA is actually part of our learning areas of learning beyond education, because many of our teachers, perhaps our whole life is just in education, right? We study and then all the way we go back to NIE, after that we went back to school, right? And we may not know what's our knowledge of the outside world. So I think it's very important for us to know what's happening. And today, this afternoon, is mainly in the arts and cultural scene. The theme for today's dialogue is on the latest trends in arts and culture in Singapore. I would like to say that arts and culture serve as a reflective and versatile form of expression of our lives and our national identity across generations. I think during the COVID period of the 3 years of COVID, we actually get more exposure, and more of us actually can resonate more with the art scene. And through arts, Singaporeans from various backgrounds can come together to share their values and heritage, and in the process to strengthen communities and build stronger cultural ties. The arts and culture scene in Singapore has come a very long way over the past few decades and has evolved to cater for an even more diverse and educated society. Today, we see the rise of digital technologies, which provided greater access to the arts, since performance could be live streamed, museums could mount virtual exhibits, and I know that during the period of the pandemic, where our school children are not able to go to the museum, they actually have a taste to look at the virtual tours and also virtual learning journeys. With artificial intelligence and augmented reality, they also offer new opportunities, which will continue to shape the artistic backdrop of Singapore, making it more immersive and innovative. Also encounter an increasing popularity of socially engaged art and addresses issues such as climate change and social diversity. Now, in this way, art can promote inclusion, cohesion, sustainability, which contributes to our collective social well-being. Now, at the same time, the effects of the rapidly changing world can bring about a sense of displacement for what it means to be human and social. We see a renewed interest in the traditional arts and culture as people seek to connect with their roots and affirm their identities. I would like to say that with the world becoming more ambiguous and more uncertain and volatile, people are identifying more strongly with their culture and the art forms. In other words, do people see art as a stabilizing force in today's fast-changing world? And all of us here in Singapore, we find that, is it true that, and what can we do to further address the perception that Singapore is a cultural desert? The other thing is that what are some emerging art forms and emerging cultural trends in Singapore and other parts of the world besides digital art? I'd like to encourage all of you to participate actively, whether it's on site or online, to ask our distinguished speakers questions. I would like to say that they have given us the most important resource, and that is their time. Everyone is, whenever I ask them, they say, sorry, I have no time. But they have been graciously given us their time to share with us the art scenes and the areas that they are working on. I really hope that it will be a very fruitful and meaningful session for all of us. I'd like to pass this back to the MC, and he'll be able to get the program rolling. Thank you.
How have technological advancements such as generative technology affected the arts scene locally and globally? Yeah, so we've been talking about AI so far and how it can,
it's scary for a lot of people.
It is scary, but the thing is technology it still needs the human touch and it still needs the human creation, right? And it needs the human voice to give the identity to the art as well. So while the technology provides the tool to generate more information, it still takes a human creative being to be able to do something with it, with the information. And that is the impact that artists can make. And we are all artists at heart, right? I know Tong has something to add, yeah.
Yeah, I think that what I'm going to say is that actually is a very complex situation, which is not so easy for us to kind of like, be very definitive, because there are many gray areas here. So I do agree that technology should not be feared. But from our lens, you were talking about NFTs and all that, is that NFT is a new expression. It allows the whole blockchain. It allows us to be able to track through, what are who are the previous owners, etc. Fundamentally, the initial idea of NFTs was to actually democratize the process of ownership. It was very much a situation where there was the empowerment of the artists, of the individual artists, and therefore taking them away from the clutches of the commercial galleries. Because in a way, the galleries sells the artwork, the artist's artworks, and of course, naturally, as any business, they take a commission from it. But the idea of the NFT is that you cut out the middleman and therefore allow for more kind of like income and earnings for the individual artists. But of course, the fact that the NFT is premised on cryptocurrency, and perhaps that's where the challenges come in, because in a sense that cryptocurrency is not backed by any other currency. And of course, we have seen for ourselves the crash of the cryptocurrency market, right? So and hence NFT, is less traded, but the initial idea of NFT was to help the individual artists to actually gain more sustainability and cut out the middle person. Now, technology, it was very interesting. We had a conversation with the CEO of EDB recently, and we were talking about AI. What does that mean for in a way for the arts? So I think I agree that we shouldn't fear technology, but also at the same time, technology does democratize the process of art making. Yeah. And it aids art making. So it was very interesting when she said that, well, the technology, AI is going to be there, the technology is there, but the important thing is that who keys in all the prompts, right? So it's still the human being with the prompting it.
How do you see the evolving arts and culture landscape in Singapore influencing the skills and knowledge that educators need to stay relevant and in molding the next generation of creative minds?
I have two sons. One is 14, so now he's a teenager. So he's doing the whole teenager thing. So one is 8 years old, who's highly expressive. He likes to wear pink. He loves horror as much as he loves, and he's half Singaporean, half Filipino by culture, because my wife's a Filipino artist. And I see the changes, and I talk to a lot of teachers also and principals before. They ask me, how do you do that, right? Bring the new sensibilities of our students in and try and develop that thing. And I always tell them, first and foremost, listen to them first. Listen to what they have to tell you. Respect their experiences and what they are experiencing now, even though they're 8 or 15 or anything, so that we can see the trajectory of where they are going. I look at that at my students as well. I said, I can learn so much from you because I'm an old man, I tell them. And things are changing so fast. And then I tell them from my perspective. So you're trying to bridge this two. You cannot bridge this gap if you do not listen or try to understand your younger peers, your students, your wards. Then it makes you feel that it's very top down. So I think empathy is very important. Empathy from our perspective and through their perspectives as well, because they live in an ever-changing world with TikTok, everything at the tip of their fingertips, and they're trying to even understand that we are trying to understand, but they are also trying to understand their space within that space. But I believe the younger ones, eventually, once they reach 20s, like when I was in my 20s, late 20s, I start developing a sense of idea of who I am and what it means to be who I am in the context of my space and being Singaporean. They will get there. Don't worry. Trust that process. Yeah.
Joyce, you have something to add?
Yeah, I resonate with what Zu is saying about I think about like listening first. And I think to be creative, you have to practice from a young age to develop your voice. So I mean, I've taught in mainstream, and then I've spent some time in SPED school. Then there are many things that happen in SPED school that I wish also we can see in mainstream schools. One of it is, I mean, because we don't, in SPED school, they do functional curriculum. They don't have the pressure of academic content. So it's really about the child developing their own interests, strengths, preferences, learning how to advocate for that. And I just wish that there was time made in mainstream classroom to do that. How on top of all the exam stuff you have to do, I don't know. But I mean, also a very stark contrast that really struck me interacting with parents of neurotypical children and parents of special needs children is that they are genuinely so proud of who the child is as a person, and like they are very even though they're all Asians, they are still very affectionate and very expressive in terms of how proud they are of their child's little achievements. So I don't know why there's such a huge contrast. Like parents of neurotypical children barely say much praises, but then when I send updates on WhatsApp on like what happened during the session, then they're like, oh, my handsome boy, or like I'm so proud of my child. Then I'm like, I wish my parents said that to me also, Then so I think also because as Superhero Me, we use the arts, so it's really a lot about your personal story, your personal ideas. So we really want to give space for the child to show that, and we take that and run. We never try to link it back to some kind of objective or like envisioned end product. So I think creating that space for that voice to come out more in the classroom would be very helpful in the long run.
So I learned from TikTok. You mentioned the TikTok. So I think, again, TikTok is relevant because that's how we reach out, right? So for me to reach out to the young people, I also do TikTok. We want to reach out to the Chinese visitors. I also have Xiaohongshu, which is fine because I can speak Chinese, but I cannot be Chinese to save my life. And so whenever I have a reply, that's the challenge I have. But at the end of the day is we want to hit number 10, assuming that's the part we want to be, right? There are many ways to go to number 10. 8 plus 2, 4 plus 4 plus 6. Sorry. 4 plus 6. Yeah. But at the end of the day, is what is that story that we want? How do we get to number 10?
Artists tends to be kind of way ahead a little bit from the rest of the society in the sense that they're quite very much on the ground and they're sensing what are the shifts and what are the changes that's happening in society, and then fairly quickly offer a view, right? It's their view. It's a view that we may not either agree with or not agree with, but still a view that perhaps could be a way of the starting point for us to have classroom conversations and discussions on certain kind of like topics or subject matters that might be difficult for us to deal with head on. So that's one way to work. The other way, I think, to keep out that sense of relevance, I like the idea about relevance, is that perhaps it's also for the teaching fraternity to actually speak with the artists and the people who are making the work to see what are the issues that, matters as well. I think then there needs to be more conversations across sectors, so that we get a better sense of each other's priorities. We could get a better sense of where, we can work collaboratively. And therefore, as a result of that, with more collaborations, we are able to do, increase the kind of impact of the work that each of us do. So I think that's something that, perhaps we could see more of. And I hope, that will actually happen.
How should the balance in education emphasis between science subjects such as STEM and arts be reached?
I wish literature was back into our curriculum.
It should be. Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, that's me personally. But I think how do we do the balance is that to think about the fact that both the sciences and the arts require creativity. So, the sciences is not just about, laboratory kind of experiments and all that, but there is a certain element of creativity and creative thinking. So I think the work that we can think about is that how do we allow for creativity? How do we enable creativity? How do we encourage creativity?
Thank you.
And I think we shouldn't even look at it as two very separate things. There's an artist colleague, Isabelle Desajon. She's a French artist who works in Singapore. She's a scientist. She graduated as a scientist and then she took masters in arts in LaSalle. And all her works deal with failures because scientific achievements, whether it's like, vaccines and everything, came from thousands and thousands of failures. So she highlighted those failures because failures are always hidden, right? Before you get, people celebrate. And she's a scientist who did lab research and everything, and she's now an artist. There's a lot of artworks. Recently, the most famous artworks that, there's this big giant mechanical hand that keeps pulling its own hydraulic fluid until it died. So I think by Chinese artists, right? It's a beautiful artwork. It's just a robotic hand that you see used in making cars and vehicles in manufacturing, but it's used as an artwork. And then this machine is just leaking hydraulic fluid. And even though it's a machine, people look at it in a very human way. And I think we shouldn't look at it differently. But again, if lessons were created creatively with actions, with more practical actions and everything, not just from textbook, I think a lot more students would be more appreciative, would be more open to those things. Yeah.
Thank you, Zul. Joyce?
Okay, I think Zul was sharing that he doesn't work alone, and then just now Alvin was sharing about the unexpected partnerships that generated something exciting. And I think as Superhero Me, collaboration is a big thing. And to be frank, we get a lot of collaboration requests, and I think in general there's I don't know, to me, collaboration is kind of like a dirty word. Like many people don't really understand what collaboration means. It's like, sometimes they're just requesting for a workshop, but they call it a collaboration. You know what I mean? So, so it's like, so be careful really take a step back and think how can it truly be collaborative? I think that's the point I want to make. And I think as a producer, because we work with a lot of captains from all kinds of background, right? Have SPED background, have no SPED background, got artistic background, no artistic background. So usually when we pick the people to choose for projects, right, we want to pick those that are versatile and flexible. So even though that person cannot draw, if that person dares to try something new and is able to make connection and adapt, read the room and, all these soft skills, as educators, maybe it's useful to think about how do you encourage these skills and explicitly teach them in the classroom and not just assume that, you have done so many group work already, you should know how to work as a group. Yeah.
And to be honest, it will help me on my end as a tertiary educator if everything came down from the primary school level, from the secondary school level. Because I tell my LaSalle students, I ask them, do you guys think you are creative just because you're in art school? All of them said, yes, we are. I said, no, you're not. I burst their bubbles. I said, okay, if you're creative, come back 3 days later with a project. None of them can come up with a project from their own because they have no instructions. And that has to be nurtured all the way from a young age.
How do we create an environment whereby there's no right and wrong, that every idea actually can be a good idea, and to actually give that confidence to the individual. I mean, it's beyond, for me, it's beyond classrooms as well. It's really that sense of empowerment, and giving them also a kind of ownership as well, of their ideas, and to let them feel that they shouldn't be afraid, to be able to speak up of what they're thinking about.
Whether you are a teacher, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a journalist, that seeding of that culture and art in the kid will come out by itself. And that's why I take so much pride and effort when I have teachers like yourselves that visit the Intan and the TWA work that we do, because at the end of the day, like it or not, cliche or not, you guys are the forefront for our future. The kids go through you. We all remember our teachers, good or bad, somehow, right? And the words that you say, at the end of the day, somebody will remember something. And that's why I think as arts practitioners like us, you guys are truly our arms and our voices.